Hey, welcome to another episode of Don't Limit God. I am Joseph, your host, and today my guest is Kyle Sullivan. Listen, he's lived many lives, and ultimately, his purpose has been to cultivate his experiences in those lives and help empower others. Right? Unleash the champ.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, Kyle, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited to have a conversation and be on your show today.
Cool, man. So before we get into, all that you're doing with Unleash the Champ, God, love, and truth are universal, but the specifics of God, love, and truth are not. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I think I think we're in a world where it's becoming harder and harder for anybody to believe anything is fully universal because of just how people view the world. It's my truth, and it's hard to get people to see that there are some truths that do govern all of us. And so I think it's a pretty important thing to be able to know what those truths are and be able to stand on them regardless of if you upset people or disagree with folks. Just, I'm like, hey, you can disagree, just don't be a douche.
Yes. Listen, live your life. And my emphasis isn't on live, it's on your.
That's right.
All right. Okay, so Unleash the Champ. How did that get started?
Yeah, man. So unofficially, it started October 5th, 2019 at 12:47 a.m. That's when I held my little girl for the first time.
Okay.
When I held my little girl for the first time, I made an agreement with her and with myself that said, I'll give you presence of time, not just presence of things. At the time, I was working for a really amazing ministry, a really amazing church, got to do some amazing, awesome things. And then March of 2020, well, we all encountered and ran up on 100 miles an hour, this thing called the pandemic. And I got to be at home. And when we made the decision as a church staff to go back to the office, I just knew that I couldn't go back. And so I started Unleash the Champ with the desire to take what I had done for the last 13 years in leadership development, organizational growth, team building, speaking, training, all of that, and said, you know what, I'm 51% sure that I'll make it work for me. And I'm willing to work 80 hours a week for myself so I don't have to work 40 hours a week for anybody else.
That's good. So, okay. Fatherhood. It changes in an instant. It changes you
in an instant
as a person. Similar, right? So I had my first child 2015 and 2017, I was working as a fitness professional, and I'm like, I'm kind of done with this. And God's like, hey, you can leave, but you got to be home, and you have to be a stay-at-home father. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. That should be super simple. I mean, I can do this. The hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So, you said that you were in ministry for 13 years or so, right?
Yep.
So now, how did you get to ministry? Because that's not really something that, we just jumped to.
No, man. So I didn't grow up in church. My dad started taking us to church after he encountered Jesus for himself and started saying, hey, we're going to start going to church. And I couldn't stand it, man. I thought it was stuffy. I thought, like, God, 1 week ago I didn't have rules. Now I got rules. This is dumb. I don't want anything to do with it. I always played sports growing up. That was my God. that was my governing body. That was the thing that everything filtered through. How would it help me in sports and athletics? And part of that was my desire for acceptance. And that's what led me through a lot of really destructive behavior. Partying in high school, drinking, it intensified towards the end of high school, got into drugs, got into dealing. And about 3 years into dealing, I got jumped at a drug deal. And I knew, okay, in a moment, we talk about moments that change us. In a moment, I knew if this is what this life could give to me, I don't want it. And so I called a guy that I respected from the church, and I called it. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, I need effing Jesus. I just didn't abbreviate anything. And he's like, all right, cool, come over. Because that's a normal thing to do at 3 a.m. is just invite somebody over to your house, right? And so I get over there, and we talk through what a relationship with God looks like. And so I make a decision for myself for the first time that, okay, I'm going to give Jesus a try. It was transformative, but it was also like, all right, I don't like this, so maybe I'll try this. So I started going to church for myself, and it was pretty quickly that I felt, okay, I want to create a space for people like me that they can belong before they believe or behave. And I didn't see anybody doing that in ministry outside of the one guy that I had the conversation about Jesus with. And so that's what led me to it, man. And I knew that I wanted to be a youth pastor. And that was dumb in my head, too, because I didn't like youth ministry. I was like, what are you doing, Jesus? Like, I didn't like being a student myself. Like, what? But it was all rooted in that environment. And so that's what I set out to do. And so I got to work for some really large churches that had a really global reach. And I got to be a pretty integral part in that for 10 of the 13 years that I was in ministry.
So I'm going to go back. You said something that hit me, and I loved it. You said that, and I want to get it correct, 'cause I think I might mess it up. You wanted, you said you wanted people to belong before they believed or behaved. That felt like they belong. Can you, to me, that's deep, right? And it's meaningful also. So can you expound on that?
Oh, 100%, man. When I started going to church for myself, like even after having an encounter with Jesus and saying, okay, God, I'm going to give you my life. I'm going to follow you to the best of my ability. I still thought church was weird. Like I didn't understand all the things they were talking about. But what I knew that I liked is I met people that wasn't turned off by my questions, that didn't, judge that, a month ago I was selling drugs. Now I'm following Jesus. Like that's a pretty radical, shift. And so that was the thing is like, man, as believers, we oftentimes complicate the gospel. We say, okay, like, yeah, Jesus can save you, but now you have all these rules and you got to say these things and you got to go. You can't go to these places. You have to go to these places and you can't be friends with these people and you can't be friends with these people and you can't wear this, but you can wear this. It's like, man, forget that. Like, I just want to create a space where people, whatever their starting line is, that they feel comfortable coming into an environment that I got to lead. And it was like, hey, bring all your junk in, bring you. And we're glad you're here. And it's messy, but it was so beneficial because people just came in and like, it just feels different. Yeah, because we're not trying to change you. That's not our job. I love you. And be glad you're here and create conversation and create a space for you to ask questions instead of trying to just give you all the answers.
Yeah. Man, that's unfortunately, right? I've heard many stories of the opposite, right? Of not being welcome because of this or that. So just, so before I go, to ask you, did you feel that you were needed in that
100%, man.
space for that?
It was very clear to me that I, because of my experiences, filled a specific role within the ministries I got to be a part of. Because I'd have a conversation with people, and it's like people with a past can recognize people with a past. And so, I'd be talking with people. I was talking with students, talking to young adults, talking to adults. And it'd be like, man, you just don't have any idea of what this is like. You probably always loved Jesus. And I'm like, man, not exactly true. It may look that way. And that's part of what we have to do as believers is to normalize the progression. We oftentimes want to put up this facade, and it's like, that's not beneficial. It doesn't connect people that are really struggling, that we could have influence over, that we could have relationship with, when all we're doing is talking about, how blessed and highly favored we are. It's like, yo, let's just talk about where you're at.
Right.
And my biggest compliment, my number one biggest compliment, wasn't how I talked on stage. It wasn't how, impactful a message or a talk was or whatever. It was people would talk to me and they go, you just seem like a normal person. And I'm like, well, I was a person before a pastor, and I'm going to be a person after whatever. Like, a pastor is just a assignment that I have within me being a person. And so, like, people tell me some wild stuff, man. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, do you want help, like, moving past that, or you like where you're at right now? And I never, like, my heart is to seek to understand rather than be understood. And so for me, it was just like, tell me whatever you want. Like, as long as you're not a jerk, like, we get along.
That's it's good, man. It's good. Nah, similar, right? So I didn't grow up in church either. But in the moment, same kind of really the same story, right? I was training and I met a guy, and at this time, like, I moved to North Carolina, and I'm meeting like pastors left and right. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. I've never, but okay, whatever. And he was person first. It's like, no, yeah, for sure, I'm a pastor, but I'm a person, and I understand people stuff. And for like a good 6 to 7 month period, I literally called this man anytime of the day or night, and he always answered.
Yep.
And I was like, exactly. Oh, okay. Right. And when this phone call probably would have went, left. All right. But yeah, just meeting someone that can see you as a person and not look at what you're doing, what you've done, and things like that. It's very beneficial, when we're reaching out to others, for sure. Okay, so we're in ministry, we're leaving ministry, and we're starting Unleash the Champ.
Yeah.
And so, how is that? For one,
right?
How has it been? Well, first, what is it? What is the purpose behind
so Unleash
that?
the Champ,
and then
Champ is
how
an
has
acronym.
that been?
So, as your listeners, if you're taking notes, it means you get a fast pass to growth. So, CHAMP is an acronym that says Calling, Heart, Altitude, Mindset, Performance. So, what are you here to do? Why is it important? Where are you going? What do you think about it? And how are you actually going to take action on it? So that's the way in which we coach within the pillars of Unleash the Champ. And so what we do is executive coaching, either with the individual or with a team that comes in to align those things. So all of us, whether we are individual or we're listening to this and we lead a team, you should have mission, vision, and passions. And so when people work with me, we align your mission, vision, passion, your MVPs to create an MVP, which is a champ. And so when I started this, man, it was, I took a blowtorch to the boats. I felt, okay, I should do this. 2 weeks later, I was buying computers and launching this thing. I was 51% sure it would work, and that was enough for me. And so, and so how it's going is continuing to evolve. As anything, as we grow, now it's 2.5 years into this. Who I work with now is nobody like I worked with 2.5 years ago. And I think sometimes we can get stuck in, well, we've always done it this way. Well, when we've always done it this way, we'll get the results we always have gotten. And so being able to go, okay, hey, when people come into our ecosystem, people come into our organization, I'm asking questions that are geared towards maximizing professional success, which again, that's what people want, without creating a personal mess. Because being a minister for so long, you saw so many people that would sacrifice it all on the altar of success. And I'm just of the belief that you can learn from your losses and that you don't have to not have time or energy to enjoy the life you work so hard to build.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think that acceptance of who we are, right, and that goes along with the experiences, do you think that affects our progression?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or at least when it comes to success?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything in our life builds upon itself. There's lessons.
Right.
There's lessons that I learned as a drug dealer that I apply to business today: sales, marketing, fulfillment, event planning. Like there's things that I did then that I do now. It's just a different product. And so everything builds upon itself. The good, the bad, the ins and outs, all of it builds upon itself. And so if we have the awareness to distill the lessons, then we're able to take it, implement it, and unleash it.
Good, man. So listen, guys, don't be afraid of your past, right? So a lot of the ways that we've learned things are the ways, it's the only way that we could have learned it, and that it would stick with us.
Man,
so we can use it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times we try to villainize our past. And, I got asked on a podcast one time, said, hey, you've gone through a whole lot in your life. What would you change? And I said, nothing. I wouldn't change a single thing. Because if you change anything if you had the ability to change anything in your past, it would change everything in your present, and you would lose lessons that you need in your future. And so don't villainize the past. It is what it is.
Yeah. What
can you learn from it? How can you not repeat similar mistakes? And how can you move forward? That's the name of the game. It's not about living, in the it should have been this way. I joke sometimes, and it always gets a laugh that, oftentimes in life we don't move on what could be. We just keep shooting on ourselves. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have whatever. And it's like, you just got to stop. You got to stop shooting on what you can push into.
Yeah. So, and then you said your clientele today isn't your clientele when you first started. And so as you adjusted to that change, what were some thoughts or barriers that you faced personally?
Belief that I got clients. Let's see if I can say this. Yep, all of my clients are older than me by at least 5 years. The businesses that I work with do more revenue than I currently am at. And so it's the belief sometimes that we go, man, how can I help them? How could I do this? And so that was the biggest thing. It's just, it's one, create the vision. It's two, create the belief. And then three, it's really being stubborn enough to stick with it. And so it produces the resiliency we need to fulfill what we're called to do.
How big is confidence?
I think belief
compared to
breeds confidence. Because, well, let's do it like this. So it starts with a belief. Then it moves. Belief should move us to action. Action breeds confidence. Confidence gets results. And so it has to start with belief. Like, I believe I can do this. I take action. I realize, I can't do it as well as I thought, but I can learn. I'm actually pretty decent at this. And that's what starts to rise our confidence. But it all hinges on belief and even, having the vision of what's possible.
So relating to vision, how can you, or what are steps to help someone really
that's right.
Write the vision, right? Make it plain.
Come on, Habakkuk 2, verse 2. Let's go. Man, here's the thing. Like, we know that oftentimes we aren't willing to define what we want in life. We go, oh, well, I want to be healthy, and I want to be able to travel. I want to, be successful. I want to make money. It's like, all right, cool. Like you want to make $1? You want to make 10 million? I want to be healthy. Like, you want to be able to walk around your block, or you want to run a marathon? I want healthy relationships. Like, you want somebody to go to lunch with you, or you want to go on vacation with somebody? And so often it's taking the lid off. John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid. Like, we can't grow beyond the lid that we have self-imposed on ourselves. And so being able to say, okay, let's take the limits off. And it's as cliche of a phrase, but it's going, if you knew the answer to the question was yes, what would you try? If you could do anything and time and money were not an issue, what would you do? And you start asking yourselves, okay, what do I truly want in life? And then the second piece of that to create the vision is, who do I have to become? Who I am now is different than who I was 2.5 years ago. Who I'll be in December is different than who I am right now in July. And so I'm constantly asking myself, okay, what needs to die in me to become the person I said I wanted to be? When my goal was to be a pastor forever, I operated within that. That was my preferred future. Now, with a business owner, building a brand and podcasting and speaking and training and working with people, and I have to show up differently. But we can't show up differently if we don't define what that means. And so a lot of times we're like, I'm stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, because you don't know where you're going. It makes no sense to create movement if you're in a car and you don't know where your destination is. Same way with our life. Vision is the vehicle that gets us to our destiny, gets us to our championship run, as I call it.
Mm-hmm. So, 2 parts on that. One, limitless, right? There were times, at least I can speak for myself. There were times in my life where being limitless was limiting. right? And so it's the idea of I can do whatever I want, but because I can
Yep.
do whatever I want,
Yep.
I don't know what to
Man,
do.
that's a huge piece of multi-passionate people. I think that's part of our society of like try everything, and then we like get good at a handful of things, and we're like, well, I don't know which way to go. But one of the things my mentor said, especially as I was building this out, and my coach that I hired to help me flesh a lot of this out, said, "Could you see yourself doing this in 5 years?" And I'm not a huge like 3, 5, 1 year plan goal guy, but would you be satisfied? Would you be satisfied and excited doing whatever you're thinking about doing in 3 to 5 years? If the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, ask why. If the answer isn't because something that needs to continue to be doing, be willing to shut it down. I think there's power and wisdom sometimes when it's right to be wrong. You can be sold out to something and then the assignment changes and you gotta shift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, I forgot the other one. What was it? I can't remember now. Oh yes, vision. How do you when we talk about this writing the vision, making the vision plain in whatever way you see it, right? Whether it's writing, whether it's an actual picture, how do you help someone either focus in on an area because it is so broad, and then also how do you help someone open up their eyes, sort of say, to what their vision is?
Any of my personal or professional clients to go through is about a 4-page life satisfaction assessment. It's the starting line to unleash the champ, because in it is a lot of questions about what if, a lot of questions about if you could do this, what are your passions, what are the things you want to be known for, what do you want to be in your relationships, what do you want to be like. It's a lot of introspective questions that distills the vision. And so being able to do that and then reviewing that where there's sticking points, just asking questions like, people go, oh, I want to travel. Most people want to do. Cool. Where do you want to go? I want to go to Florida. Okay, cool. Where at? I want to go to Orlando. Sweet. What neighbor? Like where in Orlando do you want to stay? I want to stay in Disney World. Okay, cool. What resort? ESPN Sports World. Okay, cool. Do you want to be on the football, baseball, soccer side? Football. Cool. You want to be on the top floor, bottom floor? Top floor. Great. You want a balcony? You just want to walk right out your door? No, I want a balcony. Cool. What do you want to wear? What do I want to wear? Like, and so you're just constantly going like, okay, make it plain. And so for me, it's going, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Now what? Okay, cool. What's next? Okay, cool. And you start to like distill this thing to where then people look at it and go, I can actually envision what this would feel like. And then I say, you got to keep the vision in front of you. I mean, man, so much of the last 2.5 years, the only thing that's got me out of bed and the only thing that has been warm, a warm figurative blanket at night is the vision of what I'm building. And what is happening is a direct correlation in the vision that I continue to hold on to.
Good. Well, so then how do you transition the vision?
How do you transition the vision?
What does that look like? How you transition it? So the beginning, right? And so like you said, like your vision, well, I don't know. Your vision in the beginning of what you wanted to do and how it looked, then as it progresses, as it grows, it starts to look different.
I think it's important that from the very beginning, the mission has been the same. The model is what shifts. So I like to say you marry the mission
Got it.
or the vision, you date the model.
Mm-hmm.
So how it is accomplished will evolve. What we're accomplishing will stay the same.
I like that. Yeah. So I have this. My thoughts on people. Because I've worked with them in a different field, right? And so my thing with people is always I can't give anything to you, but I can help bring everything out of you, bro.
Yep.
In the situation of everything, right?
Yeah,
And so, what do you
I
think
think we
about that?
give insight, we give wisdom, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to whether or not people put it in action. There's, I think about a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we buy these self-help books and we self-help becomes shelf-help because the only thing it's doing is holding up things on the shelf. Like we don't ever go through it. We don't whatever. It's that whole thing of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink. And so when we work with people and we work with teams,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to give the resources. We're going to give the access to mentorship and coaching. We're going to give the accountability. But at the end of the day, we can't guarantee that your people or you will actually do anything with it. The level of which you are vulnerable, teachable, coachable, resilient, all of those things factor into you being able to actually achieve what you want. But it all stems from, okay, can I do everything that I know to be true and provide the frameworks, the access, all of those. But then at the end of the day, like it's on you because I can't move your arms and legs. And so when I have a teammate that is struggling, and I have a teammate that is not performing, I ask myself, have I done everything to help them achieve the things they want? If no, that's on me. If yes, it's on them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this has been great. All right. So, call to action. Where would you like the people to go? They're seeking
Yeah, man.
to unleash
Easiest
their inner
place
champ.
online would be unleashthechamp.com. You can see what I'm doing there. You can find out more about me, my story in written form. But I love to hear stories. I'm a storyteller and I love to hear people's stories. And so as people listen to this, I'm most active on Instagram at Kyle J. Sullivan. Send me a message. Tell me how this resonated. Tell me what you're taking action on because of this conversation, and would love to hear what stirred up because of our talk today. Absolutely.
Nice,
This has been
Thank you for your time.
This has been great.
I greatly appreciate it.